Mr. Owen Cartledge. Welcome, Mr. Cartledge. I'm sure you're aware you have 5 minutes with a possible extension of 3. If you could give us your name for the record and the agenda item you're speaking to when you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. My name is Owen Cartledge, and this morning I wish to speak on the Captain Oldrey Park proposal. I do not come from Browley, I reside elsewhere. I speak today as an environmental ecologist. I am qualified in this field with a PhD and have worked in and published from university departments of resource management, environmental science, soils and botany, a state agriculture department and the NCDC in Canberra. I express my utmost concern about the Captain Oldrey Park proposal. This ESC document is an answer to the wrong question. The main focus is on sport. The executive summary, quote, recommends a number of facility upgrades and expansions while retaining and maintaining native vegetation where practical, end of quote. I wish to argue the case here today that the starting point could and should be the reverse. That is, the maintenance and passive utilisation of natural vegetation and the expansion of sport facilities to another site. If this ESC proposal is adopted, we will witness the greatest lost opportunity seen in this chamber. Parking roads and an additional oval would remove somewhere between 65 to 80% of the Bangalore forest at this site. The Bangalore forest, its understory and soils have evolved over thousands of years. It is the climax community of a sand dune succession. Many of the individual cycad plants are hundreds of years old. This forest is rare in a built-up area and contiguous to an increasing population. There are many examples of populations seeking passive recreation in forest communities. Kings Park in Perth, the new National Arboretum in Canberra, people seek out plants, parks and forests in particular. Canberra Nature Park comprises 33 separate areas. There is a significant scientific literature on forests, walking tracks and the health benefits to accrue from the provision of these services. Improvements to immune systems, diabetes, heart issues and general health have been found. People walk through these areas for respite, rejuvenation and rehabilitation. The Green Building Council of Australia is rapidly moving beyond buildings and energy ratings. It's extending its accreditation to whole communities, including surroundings. The implementation of the plan in front of you today would be another step towards turning the Eurobodalla nature coast into the built concrete and heat island we see at the Gold Coast, Queensland. I do remember the more natural appearance of Southport and Broadbeach when I was a child. Page 1 states, this master plan has been developed to incorporate ideas and feedback from the community, end of quote. I'm sure councillors Mayne and McGinley have powerful memories of a community meeting held at Browley School about 6 months ago. The feedback at that meeting was very much at variance with this document. This document outlines the needs and wants of sports people. The ecological and environmental losses just get a mention. A few crumbs are offered. No serious consideration. Councillors need to ask the alternative question. What is the best use for this land? Not the current question, how do we expand sport into this land? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cartledge. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Mayne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Cartledge, welcome this morning. What is the best use of this land?
I believe a very good use of the land is the opportunity to retain the native forest with walking tracks, passive recreation. It is so small, I'm not here to argue it's a conservation zone. I'm sure if you come back in 50 or 5,000 years, all sorts of foreign species will jump in, some of the native species will have jumped out. But in the short to medium term, and I'm talking hundreds of years, it has great scope for the needs and wants of people who are interested in passive recreation, and who knows what people will be seeking in 50 to 500 years. The world's a different place to 100 years ago. I don't dare predict what will give people a kick in 100 years' time. It could well be the great regrets if we put a sports field. My observation just driving down here this morning, there's huge numbers of flat areas that could be an opportunity for sports areas. And to have it adjacent, okay, someone could say to me, well, hang on, there's Bangalore Forest halfway down to the airport. There may well be, but it's not next door. It's not, let's go for a walk this afternoon. I've been housebound. You've got to get in your car and go there.
I have a question for you, Mr. Cartledge. It's a bit of a Dorothy Dixer, I'm afraid, but you will be, I presume, putting in a submission. This is going out for 28 days. And I look very much forward to you putting in your submission, given your credentials and your knowledge on this matter. I also encourage you to, and even though you've said you don't live in Browley, but obviously you're showing a very keen interest in Browley, to encourage those members and community members like yourself that maybe have an interest and live in the area to please put forward their views during the submission process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McGinley.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. Welcome, Mr. Cartledge. Yes, I do remember well those meetings some 6 months ago. As the Deputy Mayor says, this is going out for public exhibition. I'll get to my question in a second. And I seem to remember at the meeting 6 months ago there was some confusion as to people being unable to comment because they couldn't see exactly what was on the table. Now it's on the table, and as the Mayor says, 28 days. And I'd encourage you, I'd also like you to know, are you aware that when people put in submissions, they really should address them to council at ESC, using that address rather than writing directly to councillors. If you put them officially right through the council web email address, they get registered, they don't get lost. You can CC us all in as well, but if you just write to councillors, they don't necessarily get registered on the system. It's just, are you aware of that? And also for the people who might also be want to put submissions.
I was unaware of that, and that information I think should be transmitted beyond from you to me and this chamber. In terms of public involvement.
Yeah, we all know that, but
I'm not sure out there.
Sure, I just did. Hope that helps. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just for a little bit of clarity, it certainly is out there in the public space of how to engage through the submission process.
I totally accept that, Madam Mayor, yet I still get people assuming that if they send a submission to me that's it. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Cartledge. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.